I'm eating podcasts for dinner.
And we are live here on the Flat Five podcast, episode number 33 with my good friend, Daniel Monte, also known as Daniele Monticelli, which is so much fun to say. And I will never stop saying it.
Yeah, sometimes you combine them. Daniele Monte, Daniel Monticelli.
Yeah,
it's good. It's like,
pretty sick. How you been, man?
Good. Busy. Excited. After the release of the last record.
Yeah.
You played the show on and played a lot of the
and
drums
played some tunes on. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So I'm super excited about that, pushing that a little bit, trying to get that out there and playing it around. So
well, you've been killing it with the content for sure.
Yeah, man. That's a lot of work.
Which is
good. That is a lot of work.
Yeah. How's that been going?
It was what we did was we got like a bunch in bulk, right? And we're kind of like adding things in, so there's always content kind of to push. If I miss a day, there's something posting. If I miss a couple of days, there's still something posting, right? Yeah. So it was a lot of strenuous work trying to get it all together, but I think it's worth it. And do you know what? It's actually fun because it's like now I get to see stuff we did in the past as it's being posted,
and it comes
and
back.
even I'm like, oh, what did they post?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
So are you actually doing all the posts yourself?
Well,
like actually completing them and executing them?
Yeah. So it's like from creating the actual post itself, like that's what I do, and then I have Stacy.
Yes.
Who is my essentially social media like manager, right? So she goes and she schedules everything. Like we write the captions together. She makes sure I don't sound stupid, and then she's
a social media manager.
Yeah. She's like, that sounds dumb. We're changing that. So yeah, we end up doing that, and then so it's like a huge help because there's work involved there, and she really helps out with that.
And so for all the listeners, like Daniele has this new record out. Daniel. We'll just swap between the two as we go along, which is available everywhere.
Yeah,
right?
everywhere.
I know you distribute on all major platforms.
Yeah.
So
Spotify,
you got music
Apple
videos
Music,
as well.
all that. Yeah, YouTube. Yeah, music videos are coming out. Like we just released one last week. I think it was like last week. Yeah.
You tell me, bro.
Yeah. Which actually you're in. You're in that.
I am
video.
in that. Yeah, that's right. City of Angels.
City of Angels.
Yeah. Shout out Switzer.
Yeah, they're great, man. It's
they did a very good job on that.
Yeah, but yeah, we're like releasing videos like every 7 weeks, so there's lots more, 6 more videos.
So is this like a whole like almost like a year plan that isn't necessarily the fiscal year, but it's like from release, like basically to the same time next year?
Pretty much. I mean, it might be a little like a few weeks,
give or take.
Yeah, give or take, right? But yeah, basically that because we're trying to prep. Okay, so just for context, we released now part 1.
Right.
Which was 8 like full length tracks, 9 with the intro, but that doesn't really count. So
I count it.
You count it? You count the 10-second intro?
Yeah. It's called the intro.
Yeah. What is it? No, Tune Up it's called. Okay. Yeah. Oh. See, there we go. So
okay, maybe I don't count it now.
Maybe you got to stream the album more.
yeah, exactly.
But but we're looking at now part 2 and trying to figure out that whole thing because we want to do the same thing, like get the content ready for promotion, get the videos ready and all that, and we needed time.
Right.
We don't want to take like a break, basically.
Yes.
So once we finish this whole like campaign of now part 1, we want to immediately start like now part 2's coming out now.
So you're kind of juggling the two at the same time. Like you're actually executing and completing all the previous work for now part 1.
Yeah.
While essentially like doing the prep work, planning and production of now part 2.
Yeah.
So that once now part 1 completes, you just pass the baton to the next record.
Exactly. And then that way it gives us time to work on the next album.
So when are you going to get a record deal, man? So other people
whoever's listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, but there is something, I will say there is something nice about doing it because it's all self-produced, self-recorded.
Absolutely.
Right? And then we get it mixed afterward. But this incredible mix engineer is Tal Weissman. Deserves all the love. That guy's great.
Absolutely.
But yeah, there's something interesting about that because, like, actually, funny story. Now, part 1, a lot of the songs on that were basically like there were a lot of redos, right? Which you pay for a studio time. It's like what you do that day is it.
That's it, especially with the cost of studio work. Yeah,
otherwise you're paying another like bill, right?
And it's important for artists to demo prior going to a studio. But
Right.
you get into the studio and there's new gear and there's new equipment and fancy shiny stuff, and you do that and you're like, I want to change it again.
Yeah, so that's what we realized when we were kind of going through this, and what we might do around this time around is record the drums the way we usually record them at my place, right?
Right.
And at least have that as being our kind of like demoing, because we always demo everything out with MIDI, and I crappily play some drums myself and try to see if that works. But what we might do is do like a demo of things, or like a recording that could be the final, but it could be a demo, and then maybe we will go to an actual studio to get the best like high quality sound.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm not a recording engineer. I'm just a guy figuring it out, right?
Yeah, as you go along.
But it worked for Now Part 1, so I'm like, there's something nice about just doing it yourself and having that flexibility.
Well, especially too if it's in your place, like you have ease of access to all the gear.
Yeah.
Like you can just wake up, record,
and I'm
come back to it.
Extremely fortunate that I have that.
To have the space too.
Yeah, because my dad's just like, you met him.
That's great.
He's a huge music enthusiast, and like he just loves all that stuff. So he just buys gear because it's like he doesn't even know how to use half of it. he just
you don't
buys
say
it
anything though. You don't hey Dad, this is not a smart purchase.
I just like,
actually you shouldn't get that model. You should get
exactly
the next one over.
But like he loves it, right? So he keeps buying stuff, and like I think he enjoys even the fact that like we are getting use out of it.
Absolutely.
Right. So it puts a smile on his face knowing that the record was done in his place. Right. So it's kind of a win-win for both of us. And but I'm extremely fortunate that I have that. A lot of people don't, and it's like, I'm just like, thank you, grazie, papa.
He is actually pretty rad, Like even when we played the album release show at the Vaughan Playhouse Theater, like he made like the stained glass. So
it's crazy because
I don't know what like prop, I guess you could call them.
So what he did, and actually you'll see them. We have some live videos out of the show. A couple of live videos released, and you'll see them. There's these 4 big they're like 8 feet tall stained glass window things.
Yeah, that's right.
That are like suspended from the ceiling, and it just brings it to like that next level of like.
And they actually looked good. Well, and he had the LED lights with the.
That was all him. That was
with
his,
the remote.
Because he gets excited about this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
He gets super excited. Like I remember even when he was in Italy, he told me stories about like different theater productions that he would be part of as like a 20-year-old, where he would like go in and direct and try this and make that. So it's like he has that in him. Yeah. And I think this is just like an opportunity to do it, and he's like,
to do it just to get it out. Yeah.
Like even on Save Me, the music video, that's not going to be released for a while, but like we made a coffin for it.
What was the music video for Save Me? I wasn't in that, was I? I was City of Angels.
Oh no, Save Me was just
maybe don't spoil it or spoil it.
Anyway, I will just say that there was a coffin made for the video.
Damn.
Right? And he was like, down. Like, he's like, give me the plywood. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
get out of my way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like he just really enjoys that, and Did
he ever have a part on writing the music with you?
So, yes and no. Sometimes, like, okay, so on Familiar, he wrote "We Will Dance," like the lyrics and the melody to it. Like I had the chords written down, and that was a part of my life where I was a little bit like less confident writing. So I was like, I can't write lyrics. I don't know how words work. Yeah. So what
is English?
Yeah. So I was like, I wrote chords, and I'm like, I can't like try to put a melody to this. Try to do something. So he did.
Well, for the listeners too, like Familiar is your second
first album,
second most recent,
Yeah. So that was released 2020, and then Now Part 1 is 2023. But yeah, that song he wrote, and I think on the next album, Now Part 2, there's gonna be another song that goes back like I'm talking 10 years. That we wrote together. Same song? Heroes.
Hell yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, that'll be cool. So I want to record that for Now Part 2. So yeah, he has a hand in a couple of the songs.
Right.
Just because, I mean, like, dude, I wrote with him since I was like 12. So it's like, we have stuff, and, I value his opinion. Like, sometimes I'll show him a song when everybody else is going like, oh, this is cool. He goes, no. Like actually, there's something missing.
Kind of bad.
And usually the way it goes is like I yell at him going, no, it's supposed to be like this, and then he yells at me, no, but let's just listen to me and try to do this, and I go, no, and then I end up doing what he does. Doing what he said. It actually worked out. So it's that kind of collaboration. I value his opinion on things, and sometimes he'll actually like write or co-write a song. Yeah.
Pretty sick.
Yeah.
With this, with Now Part 1, talk to me about the writing process and where each song came from. Like, were you creating a fictional world for people to sort of get into? Is it coming from a more personal experience? Is it an amalgamation of the two?
Yeah, I'd say like I always start things off like the songs I write. You know, I don't think I can write anything without some sort of like personal
Connection to
it. Yeah, because
Right,
it's just
right.
like that's like I think I've said this in the past where it's like that's like my therapy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's like whatever I'm feeling, like sometimes I don't even know what I'm feeling until I start writing and I start singing and then the words kind of come and it's going, oh, okay, I see.
This is it. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of the stuff that you'll, like this album specifically, a lot of it is about like time passing, ethics, and like, you know, at the time of writing the stuff, I was turning 25. Now I'm 26. But I was turning 25. And I was like, you know, like quarter life crisis galore. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh God. So like the song Time didn't just come from like, I'm gonna write a song about time. And
Yeah.
it was like I'm getting old and I'm freaking out.
Right.
Like what is the point of all this? Right? Can I not just be a child again? And that's how the song Time came to be, including all the different arrangements, right?
Yeah.
So
It's a very busy song, but it's not like, it's not busy in the sense where it feels like there's too much going on. Like it's like every layer is further detailing like the sort of world that you're trying to put the listener into. And I remember when we were recording it and we were going through the drums and trying to find some, well, besides what you and I are both thinking of, we were listening to all like the different like percussive elements. And I think at that time there was other things that you wanted to add as well that weren't in there the day that we recorded. Like I think you wanted to record some bell or clock.
yeah,
or
and we ended up doing that. Yeah, because I again a lot of what I do, especially on this record, like this one specifically,
Right.
there's a lot of conceptual like arrangement and soundscape based on the song, right?
Yeah.
So like in Time, I really wanted to have this like, you know, the sense of like everything just like connected, intertwined, like a clock, like the inner workings
like the
of a
gears.
clock, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So there were like even clicking sounds. Like we do have a tick.
Yes.
Like a TikTok, but not a typical TikTok.
Not like
because
cartoony.
Flavio, who's the sound guy, the sound designer on a lot of the music, he's got more class than that. He doesn't. He doesn't.
He
just start
does. He's a
TikTok.
very classy guy.
It's a really cool soundscape that he put there, right? And it really helps the strings and the intricacy that we did on the drums and the verse there, right? But all of these choices are there to kind of just like give some sort of feeling to the audience of like, you know, because there's one thing of you being like, you know, like time keeps going. Right. And there's another thing of like feeling like, oh my God, there's like so much going on and it keeps going. Yes. That's what you mean, but there's so much going on, but it doesn't feel like that because it's all working together in some capacity to just reflect a feeling or an emotion, right? Yeah,
like none of it feels like it's pulling you out. And it doesn't feel like any of the added like sonic elements are distracting you. They're all cohesive and you're recognizing them, but you're still focused on like that very first verse, you know, that we spent God knows how long. I feel like we spent more time just trying to figure out those like 8 bars.
I'm so proud of that though. It sounds so cool.
And then the rest of it was just like, okay, just play the drums, you know?
Yeah.
But everything feels not just cohesive, but it's like it's pulling you into that world, you know, which I think is something you do a good job of capturing. And I think a lot of people should know about the amount of time and effort and like mental thought it takes to like, hey, I'm going to cut a record, but I'm going to actually make something out of it and make it more theatrical as opposed to DACG and then that's it.
And mind you, I don't go into it thinking I'm going to make it more theatrical and it's
just who you are.
It just becomes that, right?
Yeah.
Like one thing that I like a good example of this kind of the way it works in the songs where it's like it seems like, oh, he's like doing some interesting things here and it's like Time, let's continue with Time where I go into that major section where everything like breaks down and is slow and soft.
Right.
So I might get a little bit music nerdy here. But it starts in B minor.
I'll put like a whole warning sound.
Yeah, warning.
Like, fast forward 35 seconds.
Right. But it's like the verse is like B minor, right? So it's like a dark kind of, you know, there's a dark key and sound. It's a minor sound.
Right.
And it's just like perpetually like moving forward. And then it opens up to this F major thing. I didn't do that because I was like, I want to be cool and go away. Like I was like, no, because I need it for the concept to work.
Right.
Because even if you don't know music, you can feel the difference between a B minor like aggressive thing and an F major light thing. It's the most opposite.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
They're the farthest,
Right. It's an interval. It's a tritone away.
Yeah.
And it's like it's different quality, right?
Yeah.
So you feel that almost like, oh, what's happening here? There's something lighter here. There's something like, it's a different vibe.
Right.
Which is exactly what, then you listen to the lyrics and it's like, that's the moment where he's wishing to be a kid again, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then again, it goes right back into that B minor. So you hear that stark, like, tritone away now.
When all those, like that one big note and then all the clocks and all the sounds.
And then everything's like up, time's
it's
catching
snap.
up again.
Yeah,
you can't run away from it, right?
Yeah.
And I think even to like a non-musicians, so people that don't know what the heck I just said in the last 35 seconds, they subconsciously feel it.
And that's the point, right? Like it's not meant for. I think this is a topic and a specific point that musicians fail to accept and respect. It's like your job is to not be like, look how cool these chords are. Your job is to use the tools that you have and essentially use them as color for your ears,
right?
And take somebody there.
And that's why like I got lost. Sometimes I've gotten lost where it's like, because I know my jazz chords. Right?
Yeah.
It's like I add the 9 and I add the
the 13.
Yeah. It's like sharp 11. And it's like, it's like all these different things. And then you realize it's like, okay, wait, let me take a step back. Is that doing anything for me right now?
Exactly.
Sometimes the answer
the question is it doing anything for you or doing anything for the song? Because when you're adding that shit, it's doing a lot for the typical, musician perspective of like, I spent 6 hours in class learning how to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus like someone listening and be like, is this necessary?
Yeah, exactly. And to me, it's like, sometimes it's a fine line because it could work and it could help. Right. Like there are moments where you want to have that because it's this big open kind of lush sound.
Yeah.
But then there's other moments where like one single note is more powerful. Actually, Save Me is a good example of that.
Yeah.
Save Me, actually, I don't know if you were if I was working with you for the first rendition of Save Me.
No, not the first one. No.
So the opening of Save Me wasn't the way it is now on the record. It started off a lot more like chord based,
right?
And there were a lot of chord strumming, and there were a lot of like production elements on it, and the drums were like coming in hard, and then. Listening to it, I'm like, this completely takes away from what I'm trying to say. Because what my point was this like, where is heaven, where is hell, save me. That whole line was supposed to be an introspective, like kind of look on like, on thinking about morality, right?
Right.
And putting in all these chords and all these friggin' arrangements, like that's
blanketing.
There's
the
nothing.
whole point.
There's nothing like introspective about that at all. So instead, I basically. I was like, no, let me work on this and let me figure it out. And I was playing with some stuff, and then I realized that just literally one note,
the beginning
with the melody,
that's all you need.
That was it. Because then it picks up, then it moves on. And realistically, if you get lost and you're like you don't care about the intro of that one note, and you're like, it's not busy enough for me. It's not the song for you. Move on.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's what I decided. And I don't regret keeping that one note because it could be very powerful.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's the less is more approach, and like it's important for anybody of any media to understand space.
Yeah.
To just appreciate space. Like you see it just like in interior design. Like you have like what it would be 1, 2, 3. You have 3 white walls, and if you color the back wall, it gives it this sense of length. Yeah. You color the side walls, it gives it this sense of depth. Or the roof, or whatever it ends up being. You know what I mean? But understanding space is really important, and the job that you and I both share is the space of sound. Yeah. Being able to just gnaw on this one note for literally a second, and it's going to do more for you throughout the rest of the tune than me just playing busy all day long.
Right, exactly. Because I joke around with some of the my buddies that are like jazz guys, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you're putting 12 notes in every single chord.
Yeah.
Right? Because it just sounds like
wow.
It's just like the same thing, just the same sound over and over again. It's like, well, you're not really saying much. To me, that doesn't say much. It shows me that you can play a lot of notes.
Well, it's kind of like the guy that just loves to use every massive adjective possible.
Yeah.
Like, just look at all these fucking notes that I know, man. I know so many big words. It's like we're literally talking about going to Walmart.
Yeah, it's like the introspective look on the humanity changes depending on the behavioral aspects of the universe regarding theories of quantum.
And it's like, dude,
like, what the fuck did I just say? Nothing.
We're right? Talking about some bloke.
It's like I use a lot of big words, but that literally meant nothing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like that's what I try to avoid doing in music, and it's easier to accidentally fall into that in music.
Well, it's the thing because I think sometimes songwriters forget, like, they make something that they love and they come back to it like consistently, and then a month goes by and they're like, nah, this is not good at all.
Right.
And I'm like, no, you just don't forget, like, the first time you heard it and you made it. Like, that's the important part.
Yeah.
Like, don't alter too far from that, you know?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. That actually touches on another point of, like, you know, the art being a reflection of your moment in that moment that you were feeling. And that's why the album was also called Now. Because it's literally right. It's that moment.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
when I wrote those songs, when I put those things together, when we all played on it, like that's that moment. Now part 2 is going to be now, right? The new now, right?
Should be called Now.
Yeah, very good. Maybe I'll think about that.
Yeah, actually, no. But I think it's really important for, like, songwriters to, like, we talked about theory, we talked about technique for a moment. Like, it's not saying don't do those things.
Right.
It's that all of those are tools in your toolbox to aid you to get to the idea faster.
Exactly.
So that when the time comes, when you have your antenna open, you get a good idea, you can play that and complete it to its fullest right then and there, and then go out and record it and come back to it the next day and be like, this is like 40, 50, 60% done. I'm not sitting there thinking, you know, what does this mean? What is this? Like, you've got the tools and then the means to create it pretty much right away. And you see it a lot with painters. Like, I think it was the first time I did the episode here at Melody First. I think it was episode 31. Yeah, I had a friend named Canna. She is an artist. She's done, the most recent thing that she's done with me is like drum heads, like old snare drum heads for Freddie that I just couldn't use them for recording. Like, they're just so dented in, but they haven't broken yet, and they're just, like, old. Okay. I was like, I can't use this. Yeah. Can't use it as a gig, because I'd have to crank the snare up, and it'd be like a timbale. Otherwise, there's nothing, right? So I had, like, 6 of them by this point over the course of, like, just pre-COVID and now. I was like, hey, can you create this? Like, can you just make something with it? She went and drew on it. She did a whole bunch of work with it.
That's cool.
And I was like, how long did it take you to do it? And she's like, not that long. She's like, I just did it. Yeah. You know? And even when her and I were talking about it on the podcast, she's like, I don't really spend too much time. She's also very, like, abstract. I mean, her Instagram is almost abstract, so it kind of goes hand in hand. But she literally just picks up a paintbrush and just goes. Yeah. And then when it's done, it's done. Yeah, and she'll just go for an hour, or she'll go for 5, or who knows how long. And it's a small canvas or it's a large one. She has all the skill and the sort of painter's vocabulary to be able to create that in one shot. And then when you come back tomorrow, it's like, this is done. Like, I don't have to, and musicians can be that way if they develop, you know, vocabulary on their instrument and then learn how to record it, or at least demo it.
But it's also like the ability to break down the wall of you stopping yourself.
Yes, and not trying to be like one thing that annoys me when someone's writing a song, they're like, who am I? Like, what a dumb question. Yeah. You don't even get to decide that. Half the time it's other people telling you what you are. Yeah, exactly. You know, like, you have your own self view, but like,
and you know what, I will say, like, you know, writing the songs on, like, Now Part 2, sometimes I'm going like, is this like Daniel Monte enough? And it's like, but immediately I'm like, dumbest thing. What the hell is that? Yeah, of course, I'm writing it.
You are him.
How could it not be Daniel Monte enough?
Because the thing is, like, if somebody went and heard you just essentially redo Familiar, they're like, it's just Familiar Part 2, man, you know? And then you make something different, they're like, I wanted Familiar. So go listen to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that was that time.
And that's the thing, is like, I think there's like, every artist has multiple aspects to them. It's not just one. And people change every day. Yeah, like, look at the Beatles. Like, you can, like, if you're like stuck on an island,
you should take LSD.
Yeah. No, but if you're stuck on an island and you're just like, oh, I have one band or like one group of people to listen to, just pick the Beatles, because they're literally like a whole lifetime of everything, you know, and it's like,
they literally have records with them screaming.
Yeah,
You
I
know what I
know.
mean?
And then
Like,
they have
it's-
like the softest, just like, you know what I mean?
The
It's like there's so
psychedelic
much.
stuff and the more like esoteric, you know.
And they did it right because at the end of the day, you listen to any of that stuff, it's the Beatles,
The Beatles, yeah.
right?
Well, it's I think an important point too is like timbre and delivery. You know what I mean? Like, no one is like doing a good job of continuing their discography when they're singing one way, and then the next record they're like, I just listened to so much John Mayer, I'm just trying to sound exactly like John Mayer. It's like
Right.
you develop your own sound. You know,
Right,
go
right.
through the trial and error, go through the demo process, like record yourself, listen back, try different like vocal shapes and that kind of thing.
Right.
But you're not actively trying to be
Yeah. No,
said
not
artist.
to be, because it's like actually a good example of like singing differently but still being the same. If you listen to the 3 Hosier records,
I have not, no.
so you should.
Yeah.
This guy's incredible. Actually, I saw him live.
Well, he was just
phenomenal.
he was just in town too.
Yeah, it was insane. But if you listen to all 3, like you listen to the first one and it's like that's like kind of was the Hosier sound, right? The sound of his voice was like everybody fell in love with it. Mm-hmm. And then
This
it
is
was
the Take
like,
Me to Church era?
yeah, that was
Yeah.
the Take Me to Church, like kind of that album. Second album, Wasteland Baby, came out, and it was a little bit more like not shouty. I don't want to say shouty, but more belty.
Right.
It was a little bit more powerful, a little bit more like nearing like singing more like rock kind of, not with the distortion, but just with the power.
Right.
It was still Hosier, but it was just like a different way, you know, a different voice of Hosier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the third album is like a lot more falsetto and a lot softer and smoother. And it's like, okay, so there's like this variety in the stuff that he does, and it's just based on just his experiences at the time.
Yeah.
And based on like what he's writing about, he changes his timbre. I'm gonna use that loosely because you can't change, like your voice is your voice.
Right.
Right? But he changes the way he sings things to kind of match the song, but still remains him.
Exactly.
And that's a very like that's what like artists should strive for. It's like you can change and do, you know, you want to do something more falsetto here, do it if it's right, if it's genuine.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's the better word, that if it's genuine.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of the, like, you don't want it to sound like impersonation or imitation.
Well, that's the thing, right? So like there is space for artists to be very have variety.
Like to explore.
Right.
You know?
As long as it's in a genuine spot. It's not like you go watch like a Maneskin concert and all of a sudden, okay, I'm gonna write now. You start singing just like with the like heavy distortion when you never have. You know what I mean? It's like
absolutely.
It's like that is imitative. It's not
Yeah.
genuine like inspiration. There's a difference between inspiration and imitation.
Well, you see it too. Like you see artists try and be exactly like their favorite artist. The way they dress, they carry themselves, their speech, tone of voice. Like it almost sounds like the guy that did that Elvis Presley movie. You know, what's his name? It's
I was thinking about him today.
It's like you're pause. It's like you're like trying so hard to be that. And it's like, is this for something? Like, yeah, it's my album. It's like a Elvis Presley like album cover. Like you're just covering all his music. But no, it's not. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is just imitation.
Yeah.
You know, and some people create genres out of it.
Yeah.
Like the whole pop punk genre is basically like Blink or Green Day. You
Right.
know? But then eventually, like things kind of fall into their own, and people start to develop themselves.
Well, that's where the imitation like changes to inspiration.
Right. Exactly.
Right? Because
like,
you can be, I'm
like Fall
inspired
Out
by
Boy.
many people, by many artists, but it's like, you know, I wouldn't say I try to imitate them. You know what I mean? Like
Yes,
that's there's a difference. And so again, it's another fine line. Art is a weird thing, full of fine lines.
Well, it's a ton of fine lines that sometimes are just like arbitrarily in place, like in whatever context you're discussing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
You can have someone who's like a die-hard, you know, Strokes fan, and then they hear a band that just does something slightly like the Strokes, and they're like, I love this.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just played guitar one way for 5 seconds, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
You know? But it is a fine line between imitation and inspiration, you know? But one of the things I want to talk about that I don't think you and I have ever talked about is your come up and your like sort of trajectory and path on to being who you are now as a musician. Like when you started
from baby.
From when you were 2 going la da 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 till now, you know?
Yeah, okay.
When and how did it all start?
Yeah, I mean it's been a journey. It's actually like legitimately been quite a long long time coming. A lot of people, you know, have a 5-year story, but mine really spans like
a long time, because you were playing a lot as a kid too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So realistically, like violin, piano, those are my things. I didn't sing. Like I wasn't a singer like at all.
True.
So when I was like, I remember 11, 12, I'd be playing gigs with my dad.
Yeah.
Playing just songs we wrote. So that's one thing that kind of like is very like a common kind of thing throughout my life. Playing is like I always tried to write, like play and perform original music, right? So it'd be playing a gig. My dad would be there with the guitar and I'd be with the violin, and I sounded like crap half the time because I was, like, you know, I was
a kid, and you're playing the violin.
Yeah, I was an 11-year-old kid playing the violin, terrified of the people watching, because I'm like, this is my first time playing to people, and I'm like, what am I doing? So I shake.
And it's not like violin's easy. Like
no,
I've tried it. This is why I play drums. Okay.
So it's like, you know, but do you know what I will say? Like playing that young and kind of like, you know, I played gigs where it's like people didn't give a shit.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
were like eat like a lot of galas. They'd be just like eating their soup and not giving a shit about who's on.
I would be pretty pissed off if I was.
You know what I mean? But
too.
like, so as like 11-year-old, 12-year-old kid, and going into like my teens, it was just like a lot of like, you know, either good job or like no comment at all, or people not giving a shit about what you're doing, and it's like it kind of developed a thicker skin. Where I wasn't trying, like I've learned at that age, I'm like, I'm gonna perform and do me, because like that's all that matters, because these people probably don't care, so I'm just gonna do me myself.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that kind of brought into high school, where I was actually like, actually it was a little bit end of elementary school into high school, where I started my first band with some buddies of mine. We sucked.
The Daniele Monticelli experience.
Oh, actually, want to laugh at the name?
Yes.
Because we had a name.
Yeah.
Crimson.
I can't laugh at that name.
Huh?
I can't laugh at that name.
You can't? Is it badass? Should I change all my branding now to Crimson?
I can't laugh at that name because I have a record called Crimson. I'm like, I like that name.
Okay, fair.
I guess a record is different than a name.
Yeah, that's not.
When you're like, how old were you? 13, you said?
Yeah.
Like high school.
Oh yeah. We had t-shirts. We had black t-shirts with red and red across, Crimson. But like bold, like I still have it at home.
That's
somewhere.
pretty sick. Yeah.
I'm sick. Or sure?
It was sick for a 13-year-old.
It was interesting.
My band at 13, or the two that I had, one was called Fly on the Wall, because we were at Arcadia and we were literally practicing one of the tunes. It was either Santeria or what's that Chili Peppers tune? Thank you. That one.
It's and one pop culture reference.
I literally just like, there was a fly on the wall and I went like that and I nicked it. And we're like, we should be called Fly on the Wall. And I was like, yeah, that's right, we should.
Yeah.
And then another band inspired by a Blink-182 documentary called Punk Poets. So I think Crimson beats.
Punk Poets is a little bit of
pretty cheese.
That's kind of cheesy.
Yeah, big time.
Can you imagine playing a punk show but you have like the beret, like the scar,
and a notepad?
Hey, that's a stick right there. That could work.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
No, but anyway, so what happened is like I joined, like I started that band, and it was funny because like it was literally like two buddies of mine. They never played music before, but I had.
You were playing violin in this band?
I was actually playing guitar. I was lead guitar.
Wow.
And I didn't sing. It was my buddy who sang.
Yeah.
And they were not musicians. They never played anything in their lives. So I was like, you, to the bigger guy, I was like, you're on drums.
Yeah.
You're on bass.
Yeah.
So they just came to my house and they just like, I just taught them some simple stuff.
Yeah.
And we just started playing.
Nice.
Right? So I like got them from like, I'm like, we are making a band.
Yes.
That's what's happening. So obviously we sounded like crap for like quite a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then in high school, we started playing like Battle of the Bands and stuff like that. And we started to do and that was interesting because I learned how to play with people. Because at that point, we were able to actually play. Like it wasn't just like, learning the instrument.
Right.
The drummer was actually like, he turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah.
And then even the bassist turned into the rhythm guitar. I went to keys. Like it was kind of like, and it's funny.
Kind of like graduating into your roles.
So you see the morph, right? Because right now I play keys and I sing.
Yeah.
So it kind of morphed from grade 9 to 12. In grade 12, all of a sudden, we became like singers, both of us.
True.
Right? And I switched to the keys and I would go and grab the violin and do some solos on the violin.
Right.
And then it's like all of a sudden it started to become the band that it is, like, that I have now. Right. It started to morph into that. So it was like, it was a very good like growth And again, throughout all of this, I was still playing violin solo like gigs and doing this and playing to some pretty well established like events.
Yeah.
Where again, that taught me how to play in front of a lot of people. Like I remember playing when I was 16. I think I was 16. I played Una voce per Padre Pio nel mondo, which was basically this benefit concert. But I literally played like it was me, and then Michael Bolton. Like it was like a big show, televised, like all over Rai in Italy and internationally, and they were like. It was at the Powerade Center, so I don't know how many seats that is, but it was like
yes, okay. I had a feeling that this is the exact gig that we were talking about.
Yeah. So it was like I think still to date it was like I don't know if it is the biggest or was one of the biggest shows. Like it's like still like a pretty big deal in my kind of resume, right?
Right.
But that was like how to play to a large audience.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's when I started to move more. Right? So I started to, again, it was all these like little pieces that kind of grew together. It wasn't like I just woke up and was like, I'm going to be Daniel Monte who runs around wearing blouses and playing violin.
For sure.
It's like, it was this development.
I think that's the best sort of like path of trajectory though. Especially at a time where there's like pretty much no risk. Like trying to do something like that in high school.
Right,
really
exactly.
Zero risk, you know?
But then what ended up happening, to continue my life story.
I made it a career.
Yeah. Well, I originally didn't. Because I went to science.
Yeah, you went into science. That's right.
Because the two buddies I was in the band with, one of them now he's a physicist in Colorado. The other one's an engineer. And I was going down the same path. I was doing physics at U of T. But like I was like, there's like, and you as an artist, you know, and any artist that's listening knows.
Yeah.
There is something that's like
pulling you away.
Yeah, it pulls you right to that art, and you know. I kind of knew I had to switch out of it. Yeah. Luckily, I took those 2 years because when I did those 2 years in U of T, it made me start my undergrad at York 2 years late. Right. Where I met Antonio and Flav.
There you go.
So it was literally like perfect alignment timing, there, right? Yeah, perfect timing. We ended up playing together, and Antonio now is like, both of them are like super involved in the project. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it kind of like worked out like that. And then 2017 is when we technically officially started the band with different members coming in and out. And there was a lot of like growth and development. Yeah. Until now, until what we're at right now, which I'm excited for.
Yeah, absolutely. As am I. Yeah. And it's been fun because you and I have been working together since 2021.
I think so. Yeah, it was just after COVID because we met teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. Which feels like a long...
It does feel like a long time ago.
A long time ago.
But what happened?
Yeah, well, that's exactly the point. Like, from then till now, like, it feels like a long time ago because, like, there's just so much that goes on. Right. From gigs to cutting records to, like, you name it. Like, you literally forget what you're doing because you're like, oh my God, I did that. Like,
because it's like... I don't even think we had Now Part 1, like that wasn't even a thing yet when I met you.
No, it wasn't because I remember we were discussing Familiar and I think you had like some ideas, but the concept of it, you know, like I remember being there when we were talking about like, I want to do this record and you and I sat down one day, I don't know if we were tracking or if I was learning some tunes for a show. But we ended up both talking about like what we wanted to do with our records, like what I wanted to do with my second release, what you wanted to do with your second release. Right, and we're like, we're both two people that write from a place of like real life experience and personal connection, because there kind of is no other, there's no alternative, there's no other option, you know? And then it was like, I want to do this with my album, I want to do this with my album, et cetera, et cetera. Right. And then of course the whole conversation about social media, which is such a fucking pain in the ass. Buddy, yeah. I think that's the only value that a label would ever have. It's just like, can you just deal with Instagram, please? Yeah. And TikTok, because I don't want to bother.
I mean, it's so like on that point, it's so unpredictable. Yes. Like some things that I think are like, oh, this won't do well. Crap. It just does well. Yeah. And then I'm like, wait, why did that do well? And then stuff that I'm like, oh, this is so sick. It's gonna be amazing. It's like 30 views. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, I love it when people try and predict it. Yeah, you can. You know, they're like, oh man, this is gonna go viral.
And it's so saturated too. It's like everybody, how many different artists are there in the world?
Dude, there's something like 100,000 songs released on Spotify daily.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy. Like it's like you're really like a drop of water in the sea of like.
But this is like, the thing too, like everyone's always so like, oh, how do I collect, like as a metaphor, I'm a small fish, how do I collect the entire ocean? I'm like, that's not your job. Like, how are you gonna go from the west end of this ocean to the east end? Like, you're in this little tiny, like, just take care of your own, you know, like develop the niche and expand it. And just slowly expand outward to develop territory.
Right, and
know?
working with people and meeting new people.
Yeah,
and, really, that's
and
how
hopping
you do
on
it.
other people's stuff, and like, this is why like I'm doing some covers that are meant to just like, hey, here's music that you already know, and here's my take on it. If you enjoy this, you might enjoy at least 30 seconds of one of my songs. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's just something to just sort of expand out a bit, but it's not intended for the world. Like, the world can grab it whenever they want to, but it's actually intended for people who have been there since day one. The 70 to 100 people that have just been listening to the music and coming to shows and all that. Like, we play these songs live, and here they are now. And this is for you guys. You know? And it kind of just grows incrementally, and then you just kind of wait for that nice little Fibonacci sequence to come out.
Yeah, boom, exactly.
You know?
Well,
and then your tool.
Yeah.
You know?
The way I figure it, like, I was thinking, like, you know, like, there's been moments in my life where I'm like, oh, am I even writing stuff that people like? And I'm like, realistically, I'm going, I'm not that unique in the sense that I love this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I really resonate with my own stuff.
Yeah.
There's 8 billion people in the world.
Exactly.
Am I the only one? You know what I mean? It's impossible. It's literally impossible.
It's like, I'm cold and alone.
Like, it's like, am I the most unique person out of 8 billion? No, like, it's not, right? So there's almost like a comfort in that, where you realize that it's like, oh no, my people are out there. The people that all have the same like experience and you know, vibe in a sense.
Well, this is the thing too. Right? Like, there's personality type, there's culture, there's come up, but then there's just experience. You know, like I've been really enjoying the most recent record from this band, The Beaches. Because that album, great. Everyone's like, it's a breakup album. And I'm listening to it, I'm like, it's not a breakup album. It's after the breakup album.
Yeah, I think she even...
And she talked about it in a video.
The lead singer, I forget her name.
I can't remember.
Jode? Starts with the J. Definitely starts with the J, I swear.
I do not know. I claim fallacy. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
But like, she was in an interview. And I was like, that's what I've been saying, and she just confirmed exactly that, you know? And you don't have to be her specifically to listen to that song or any song and be like, nah, it's just for her. It's not the idea.
What's interesting about that though is like, and actually like me and Antonio had a discussion about this, because like when I write a song, I have an idea and intention in mind, right?
Right.
But we're talking about the fact that it's like, let's leave it a little bit open as much as we can, because maybe somebody listening to the Beaches album is like, that's a breakup album, and they resonate with that.
Right.
Just as valid as, no, that's a post-breakup album.
Exactly.
So even for, like, that's what I've been learning for our stuff, is like, I don't have to be too,
literal.
I don't have to explain too much.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, let people take the art and figure it out on their own. Whatever they take from it. Because I've shown people some music, and, you know, especially off the Now Part 2, there's a little bit more of like poetic in the nature and the lyricism of it.
Right.
And a couple of them, anyway. And a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, this is what this is about. This is what it makes me feel and think of." And I'm like, technically, very far off from what I was actually saying, what I was thinking.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah.
But do your own thing. Yeah.
You care about it. You like it, and you resonate with it. By all means.
Yeah.
Because my job and our job as artists is to make something and release it. And it's like, go, be free. And then everybody
people
can
use it.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, I find too, like, someone will have a song that they enjoy and they'll think of it one way, and then something great or something really bad will happen, and then they'll come back to that tune and it has a completely different view.
For me, man. Like, honestly, like, I was like, I think I even said it at the show. The release show? At the release show for Now Part 1 is like, the whole idea of the album changed for me after it was done. Yeah. Like, in the sense of like what it meant to me at like the moment that I was singing it. Like, when I sing it now, it means slightly something different than what it meant to me before. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of like a call out to like, save me from this or save me from that, or oh my God, time is moving forward. And now, like, at the time, that's what it was about. It was like, oh my God, time is fleeting, and, you know, like morality and ethics and what does it all mean. But now I sing these songs, and it's like, no, it's about living in the moment. It's about right. It's about being in your own, like in your fullness at every moment of your life.
Right.
Which is a like more positive look at the song.
Certainly, it's certainly more glass half full than like Dread.
But that was, and I think that's because like I wrote it with, a little bit more of a darker sense in mind. But again, it was like a catharsis. It was like a therapy to me. And now listening back to it, it's like a resolution that I feel.
Yeah.
Right.
But that time you were actually asking for it, and now that you have a positive view, I think it's safe to say that you received it.
Right. And that's why it's like, who am I to say that somebody else's interpretation is wrong? Because I just had 2 interpretations on my own song.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So it's like,
and this is the kind of, I think it's not Kevin Bacon, is it Ethan Hawke? Who is Uma Thurman married to? What's that guy's name? I think it's Ethan Hawke. I'm pretty sure it's him.
I believe
he was talking about
fact check it.
Yeah,
when we have it pop up with a little fact check. Like,
if I had exactly. Ian is wrong. Yeah. Delete him off the podcast.
Yeah,
he has like some video. It was part of some greater. It was a clip of part of some greater video. But he was talking about poetry, and he was talking about how someone says, "Oh, I'm trying to write poetry," and at least half will scoff it. They'll be like, "Ugh, poetry." Mm-hmm. But then their mother dies, and they need something to explain in words to be like, this is what you're going through right now, And music is the same thing, and it has the fortunate value that it is sound and speech, and it just kind of covers all the bases that you need when you're responding to art, and it does it all together, Right. It even makes you dance, like it even makes you tap your foot, it's everything in one.
Yeah.
And you listen to a song and it has this meaning, and then something bad happens and it has a new meaning, and then you get over that bad thing 10 years later and you listen back and now you have 3, and you kind of just like keep going back and forth. Like I like the Beatles. Like I'm sure there are people today who are in their 70s who will listen to a tune like Hey Jude and connect like 8 different things.
Right, of course. Also because it's like it connects, like, whenever they hear, like the moment you hear a song, you have a memory that's instilled by that. You know what I mean? Like by that moment of your life at that time. And then you grab something from the song, and then you grab something else from the song, and it's like every time. So the songs evolve with you, with the person.
But it's not really the song evolving. Like I think it's the fact that people change every day.
Yeah.
And people change incrementally into one direction and drastically in another direction. Like shit happens, what I mean? And the goal is to make art that can mold with you and sort of be your positive shadow with you and just kind of travel along.
Right.
Like I was driving back from rehearsal on Friday, and my bandmate played Whole Lot of Love by Led Zeppelin, which used to always just be like, yeah, Led Zeppelin. But then I remembered sitting in the rear passenger seat of my dad's Acura Integra when he would be driving and it would stick. So he'd be like switching gears like he's playing like an arcade joystick. And I remember just being like in awe of how he would just maneuver the car with such ease. And he'd be way down inside. And I'm like, this guy's so cool, and he's just driving around. And when he played that, and I hadn't just listened to a Whole Lot of Love. Like I'd always be analyzing, like, how did Bonham get that drum sound? But he just played it unexpectedly. We there was no prior context about it. It just played, and I just got to listen to it as a fan, which is hard to do as a musician.
Extremely,
really, especially when you're in the middle of recording as well, because you're like, where's that pan to, and you just listen to it, and then boom, it takes you back, and it's like immediately on that day, like Led Zeppelin was like attributed to my like early childhood before I started discovering music on my own, which I was vocal about. Like, this is what happened, but it wasn't an emotional and like historical response. It was more just verbal. Like, yes, when I was 5, my dad played Led Zeppelin, but then it was, man, when I was 5, I heard a lot of Led Zeppelin. That shit slaps. Like, that band is so good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Whole Lot of Love is nothing like life is great and so positive, and I'm here for you. Whole Lot of Love is dirty,
Yeah.
But it's like the song is just matching you because you are telling it to do so. Right. Just subconsciously and emotionally, you're just like, no, the song means that.
So,
You know?
I have a quick little story about, no, you know what Whole Lotta Love reminds me of?
I don't.
Reminds me of waking up in the morning because that was my alarm. I was like, "Gah-gah, gah-gah, gah, 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 gah." Every time I hear that, I'm like,
to that song.
oh. So now at this point, I hear a whole lot of love. I'm like, no, I gotta wake up.
That's such a weird song to wake up
dude,
to.
honestly, I was in high school. I'm like, I love rap music.
Blues is good. I wake up to dan, 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 and I'm like, oh, nice.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever
pump me
woken
up,
up to music. I think I've
Yeah,
always just been
well,
like an Apple alarm
Let me tell you,
masochist.
through experience, it will change your perception of the song.
Yeah, I'd be like, what are you doing to me?
Yeah.
Why am I waking up right now?
Yeah,
What could be more
exactly.
important than sleep right now?
Yeah.
You know?
But no, you're right. You're right about like it's funny. It's interesting, and that's like the idea of like music and the effect that it has on us and our memories and our like what we can connect to it and all that. Like,
Yeah.
look at Alzheimer's.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like that's literally like music therapy is a big thing with
Huge, dude.
Alzheimer's.
Oh my God.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
And I actually saw a video recently of and it's like kind of like you look at it, you're like, wow, because it was Tony Bennett, Lady Gaga.
Yep, saw that. Yeah.
Fly Me to the Moon,
Yep.
where he sings that.
Yeah.
Like the guy, like
It's like he turned on.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there was a moment where he was like
Reinvigorated. Like
right,
he was
exactly.
in it. Yeah.
and it's crazy. It's crazy the effect that music, because what else can do? I don't know what else can do that.
I don't know either, because like art, for example, is great for everybody, but to do it at a level that speaks something requires a lot of technique.
Yeah.
So it's not as attainable, and it's just sort of your eyes. I feel like music kind of, it just gets to like the center of your brain much more effectively. It's just pinpointed. It's more focused. Like even babies. Like, you ever see those videos? I find them hilarious. It's like a 6-month-old baby that's just like crying its ass off. And I'm like, how do people, like, I know I did that. And how do people deal with that? And then some like Norwegian dad will play like black metal. And the baby's like, just like locked in. He goes, whoa. And that baby just gained consciousness at that fucking time.
Yeah.
So you can be 6 months old, or you can be 96, and it'll have an effect that is pretty high on you. You know, have you ever seen that video of the kid, the little Italian kid? He's like asking for music, and they're like, Elton John. He's like, no, and all this artist, no. He goes, Zeppelin. You ever seen that?
No, but I've got to
it's
see it.
golden. And it's
Hilarious.
is it Way Down Inside? It's literally A Whole Lot of Love.
Is it a whole lot of
That's
love?
literally it. Yeah, he goes way down inside, you know, and then Winnie, and it's like the kid's like 4. The most important thing of his life is like a ball, a sandbox, snacks, and his blanket,
and Whole Lotta
and
Love.
Led Zeppelin. You know what I mean? That's the priority. But and the thing is too, like it also transcends every demographic and every culture, and every generation. You know, like you can play ragtime music, just as an MP3.
Yeah.
And be like, act like that, and they'll be like, and they'll just do it. Like, yeah, you just know it, right? Like it doesn't matter where you are. You know, you play reggaeton music, and everybody's hips is just moving in one way. Like, there's just something about the science of it that just you know.
But there's
pinpoints.
some crazy thing, because I think what we know now is like an amalgamation of all these different cultural attributes to music that kind of came together. But there's some places which is wild, because like realistically, I was learning this back in first year, where it was like essentially like a minor chord is happy, and the perception of a minor chord is happy, which to us we're like, what?
yeah, because we're always thinking major, but listen to an Adele song.
Right,
and a minor chord is happy.
But it's like there's some stuff there where it's like, you know, and it's interesting because it has some, like, a lot of it is also like through cultural experience that you get these kind of ideas of what these sounds mean and what these sounds are, and becomes ingrained in you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's I don't know, it's a very cool thing.
Well, it's the same deal with rhythm, you know?
Yeah.
Like countries where 3 beats per measure or 5 or 7 feel normal. You know, and people go out and they study it, and then they bring it back, and they're like, "Hey, I made this new technological advancement."
Isn't that a cool thing though, that we can take these ideas from different cultures and like kind of just like group everything together and make this big
That's the best part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because think like one of the things I really love is finding relation between the world of cuisine and the world of music. Because I feel like the two of them are very similar. You know, when you start looking at a chef, for example, there's all these different things that they can cook and create for you. But just everybody's just kind of got like their own little small take on something. And you go and you eat somewhere and they're like, yeah, I've actually infused like chimichurri and whatever I'm cooking. And they're like, oh man, it's like I went to this country and studied how it works. And I know when it can work and when it cannot work. And it's like, oh, this is my favorite food ever because you blended these two things that I didn't know worked.
Yeah.
I'm like, that beats a fucking ham and cheese sandwich any day of the week. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
But sometimes you wake up and you're like, I want a ham and cheese sandwich.
Yeah,
I just need some simple ass shit. And then you get it and then it just satisfies. You know? Like even in the production of it, in the like production in terms of you have an idea and you're executing it, creating an idea, you know, how you're I think more so in service of people than yourself, you know, and you just go out there and you just make it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, exactly.
And it's a skill. It's not too unattainable. I mean, you can cook an egg, you know. I hope so. Yeah. Sometimes I get the shell.
Sometimes Stace has to redo it.
How do you burn an egg?
It's easy when you forget about it and you're doing some other shit.
Bruh, come on. That's the worst. That's so nasty. That like brown.
Yeah. Well, you don't like that?
Secondary
you don't
plate?
like egg chips?
No.
No, eh?
You're gross. Are you one of those guys that's like, nah, it's good for you?
Are you kidding me? That's no, I'm not much of a chef, but I do get the similarities.
You know, just without egg chips.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
That's funny.
So what's coming up next for you? Besides just now part 2, or if you want to elaborate further on.
Well, I mean, what we're trying to do now is try to see if we can extend into, kind of what we've been talking about, me, Antonio, and Flav. We're trying to kind of extend through and work with more people, basically. We're trying to see, what connections do we have to different people that are doing cool shit, and let's just like be part of that. Let's get together and kind of mingle and like experience the world that music has to offer, right? Because we can do some really cool stuff. Yeah. And we have some friends of ours in the States, and we're like, that would be cool. Let's do an international like thing, right? And then we have some friends in Italy and some people in Portugal and different places in Europe. So it's like we're trying to see, okay, let's actually, there's one thing that we've noticed and we've learned about this industry and music is that it is an international thing, right? Yes, yeah. Which is not a very common thing for an everyday life. No, to be able to do something that's internationally like kind of like you can work. We're not technically bound by the physical world to do things. Right. So it's like, I'd love to get together with a friend of mine in LA and just do some work. So we're trying to book that in. And absolutely. And this is all, again, at the same time that we are going to be making more music and recording more music and more videos and all that. And we still do, again, this is only so far almost the 14th week of our plan. Of like world dominance, man. Jeez. Yeah, of our plan. No, but like, there's lots of content that we still have to release for now part 1 even, right? So absolutely, yeah. There's always going to be something happening, always something going on. We're going to be making a lot, and we're going to be, trying to explore and dabble with, playing different places with different people. Dabble it up, man. Dabbling, man. Are you doing anything with like there's Daniel Monte, which is the orchestral pop rock? Are you doing anything with Daniele Monticelli, like the more symphony kind of stuff? See, that's the thing is like, and I do want to eventually release, because I have 6 nocturnes that I've recorded and I'd like to release. Can you explain what a nocturne is for? Sure. So nocturne is basically nighttime music, right? Just think about it like that. I was like, and it's funny the way I was explained to, yeah, I know, right? But nighttime music. But really, like it could be something very like calming. Right, because you're sleeping at night. And a lot of people have that attribution to like if you're not a musician, you're sleeping at night. Yes. Well, yeah, exactly. But like there is a nightlife, right? So some nocturnes could actually have a lot more like character and kind of nocturne 4 in the club, man. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, right. So it's like we can have that kind of stuff. But what I did is like they're classical piano nocturnes, right? That kind of go through different attributes of night. Right.
Right.
And I have 6 of them, and I recorded them, and I'd like to release those. But I was thinking, Daniele Monticelli and Daniel Monte are not really two separate things. So it's an inner debate right now with how I should release them, and if I should release it as still part of the Daniel Monte, collection, because I am Daniel Monte. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not a different person, and that is part of what I do. Like the orchestral aspect of my music is it's born a lot from the classical stuff that I write.
Well, I see what you're saying, but I think about someone like Kobe Bryant when he was an athlete and a public speaker. It's like, it's the same guy, but I'm seeing like one in a basketball uniform and one in a suit.
And that's kind of where the debate is. It's more of the, do I want to release this, for other people, or is it something that I just want to kind of keep for myself for now? You know what I mean? Like work on the stuff that I have.
Honestly, I think doing now part 1, the Nocturnes, and then now part 2, because that time where you're in a completely different world might provide a new sense of perspective to now part 2.
Right. I just don't want to risk the idea, especially with streaming service. Streaming services, by the way, I think have kind of killed a lot of.
Oh, you bet.
The way.
Anything.
the way people consume music now. I remember, just a quick aside, and then I'll get back to my point. But I remember being a kid in band practice with Crimson, right?
Yes.
Callback. So, and after band practice, we would throw on a record because we had a record player, and we didn't even know the names of the songs.
Right.
We just threw on a record and we'd listen.
Yeah.
Which was not
that was the form of entertainment. Yeah. That was like starting a new TV show.
And we don't do that now. You know what I mean? That's not something that people do, and I think that's kind of a shame.
You only listen to what people say. Hey, you should listen to this, and it's not 100%.
No, of course not.
But it's pretty much half, if not the majority, if not 60%.
Yeah. Like
people just Spotify. Hey, listen to this one place. It's like, all right,
right. So anyway, one of the points with streaming services now is if you press shuffle on an artist, it's going to shuffle through their whole discography.
Right.
If I have 6 Nocturnes and a symphony put into the mix of all this pop rock stuff, orchestral pop rock stuff.
Yeah, true.
People don't have the ability to take a record of Nocturnes and be like, I want to listen to this now.
And hear the actual movements in between.
And hear the Nocturnes. And then it's like, oh, I feel like listening to orchestral pop rock Daniel Monte and play that.
Right.
We've killed that.
Yeah. Agreed.
Because now it's just putting it all into this one group, which that's, I think, where the debate is happening, where it's it's more about
the sequencing of it.
Yeah, the streaming services of if I make a Daniele Monticelli, at least I separate it, but now it's not connected to Daniel Monte. It's still the same person. I want to retain that, the fact that it is the same person, but I can't I'm gonna have 2 Daniel Montes on Spotify and just make it very confusing.
Well, I think you can. There's a lot of potential for research out there with other artists that have done this. Even someone like MF Doom, he's got his own stuff, King Ghidorah, and then Victor Von Doom. It's 3 different caricatures of essentially one guy who's Daniel Dumoulin, and it's someone is put onto the tertiary artist version, and then it's holy shit, that's actually the same guy, and just not knowing. And I think it's hard to know how it's gonna turn out. You know, it's more so just if it feels right to do it, then you do it, and if it doesn't, then you wait.
And that's why I think I'm just kind of chilling on it right now, because those aren't going to go away. I wrote them down too, they're all scored out.
Yeah, they're literally music scored up.
Yeah, they're properly they're set up. I even have a little a booklet of my Nocturnes, my symphonies all written out. I have everything written. Yeah. So there's no rush.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe I'll just publish it as a written work, and then just that's kind of you want to play it, because it's not hard. So it's if you want to play it, you can play it, right? And publish it in that way. But again, right now I'm not, figuring out too much of that. There's so much other stuff that is involved, and especially because the orchestral pop rock stuff, it doesn't just involve my life, but also Flavio's and Antonio's life, and and even you in part, your life. So it's
absolutely,
there's a lot more people kind of part of that. And I feel right now it would kind of be a disservice to be well, actually.
Pause.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Give me a
it's
second.
like, I know you guys are, trying to get this project going, but like, I'm going to do this other stuff randomly
Yeah.
now. It's like, I don't feel the need to do that right now.
I see that. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm excited to hear what you have coming up next. And for all the listeners, sucks for you guys. You don't have to wait.
Yeah.
I'm going to listen to them right now.
You're going to listen to them as like right after this.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to
press play right away. But yeah, man, for everyone listening, make sure you check out, well, I'll let you plug the act because I don't want to get it wrong. So you can give your Instagram and Spotify and Apple.
Hopefully I don't get it wrong. Hold on.
Don't get it wrong.
Yeah. I should have practiced this before.
Yeah,
I should have looked it up. Be like, what is it? No, I think it's pretty straightforward. It's at Daniel Monte Music.
Monte.
Yes, and then Daniel being Daniel, not Daniele.
Yeah. I mentioned you to somebody and somebody was like Monty. I was like, that's Monty. And
Yeah,
they're like, that's what you said. I'm like, shit, I didn't say that.
Yeah, I get a lot. Do you know what? It's funny. I changed my name to Daniel Monte so that it made it easier for people. And they're like, Monte.
Yeah,
Monte. I'm like,
we're Italian.
What the heck?
It's not gonna work out,
But anyway, at Daniel Monte Music, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook. I think I have a Twitter somewhere floating around and I never use it, so like forget Twitter.
Spotify, Apple.
Oh, even YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's lots of videos coming out, live videos. Like we even have it like inside the mix videos with Tal.
Yeah, dude, I saw those are actually really cool.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, those are really cool. He's a really cool dude.
And I'm like editing him. I'm learning so much.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, is that what he did to the voice? It's like,
thank you, Taz.
Yeah. So yeah, he's great, and you guys should check him out on. You can check him out on my channel on I think it just /Daniel Monte or just type Daniel Monte and you'll find it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Spotify, Apple Music. Again, it's all there.
Absolutely. And for everyone listening, make sure you go check him out. Go listen to Familiar and Now Part 1. Thank you for finally making it.
Yeah, thanks
podcast.
for having me, man. Yeah, it was a good time.
I feel like it took us like 2 years.
Yeah, I know.
Here we are, man.
Yeah,
finally did it. So
yeah,
thank
awesome.
everyone for listening and for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow. Maybe even ask me who you want to see next. If there's any, mutual friends that are watching and you think you have a friend that would be great on the show, let me know. I'm always happy to answer any direct messages. And thank you again for coming on the show once more, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
It was a great time. Thank you.
Yes, it was. Because you made it a great time, man.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Take care.